For Progressive Voices, I'm John Sinton, and this is a turning point. Today, what we lose. Because fewer than half of us, not a mandate, decided for reasons that will be known only to history that they'd like Donald Trump to be president again, we are left to weigh the costs. They are financial, environmental, civic, reputational, and emotional. Let's start with AmeriCorps. California Attorney General Rob Bonta was an AmeriCorps volunteer. He credits it with giving him a social perspective and inspiring a career of public service. Quote, "I am not alone. Every year, 200,000 Americans are inspired to volunteer with AmeriCorps, tutoring children, planting trees, building homes, helping seniors and veterans, supporting communities recovering from disasters, and more." AmeriCorps was created and funded by Congress, a co-equal branch of government, which means Trump has no right to unilaterally dismantle them, unquote. How about the Peace Corps, where my stepson was a volunteer, teaching English in Macedonia, an emerging democracy in Eastern Europe? Without the American example, they may well wind up back in the Soviet Union's, Russia's arms. He followed his aunt's footsteps. Like Bonta, she too turned a volunteer experience into a lifetime of public service as an international economist who helped bring microlending to villages in Papua New Guinea and sub-Saharan Africa, where she lives and works to this day. Defunding these diplomatic soft power outreaches that display the best of what America stands for have been important for the U.S. reputationally as well as practically because they bring agricultural skills, education, occupational skills, and enormous goodwill to the developing world. Those countries reliably align with us as they grow. Again, the administration has no legal right to defund, but they're trying, beginning with the small D.C. staff. If they succeed, the Peace Corps will die because the more than 7,000 unpaid volunteers have no support. NPR and PBS. The president has issued an illegal executive order to defund public broadcasting. Killing PBS and NPR has been on conservative wish lists since their inception, even though independent assessors always rank the two in the top 5 of neutral news sources with the Associated Press and Reuters. Opponents see a tilted political playing field that disparages the right, where the rest of us see robust local and national news gathering operations. The halls of NPR and PBS are lined with Pulitzers, Peabodys, and Murrows, the 3 most prestigious awards in journalism. No right-wing news source, from Fox to Breitbart, has ever won even a single one. They'll never admit to envy when they disparage these totems to good journalism, but they aren't really in the journalism business anyway. The Environmental Protection Agency, well, he's trying to do the same to our environmental regulators in favor of big oil. Due process and the rule of law. On Meet the Press, he said, "I don't know," when asked whether he has to uphold the Constitution. He isn't sure that due process matters where his desire to deport millions of people is concerned. He said that since he was given a mandate by his huge victory, both lies, he should be allowed to break the law. I'm not sure why the host, Kristen Welker, didn't challenge him on the idea that because he won the election, he could forego the very things that make us a constitutional democracy, the rule of law, and the due process the law demands. He did ultimately allow that, of course, he'd obey the Supreme Court's rulings, but I'm not sanguine with taking a pathological liar at his word. The president swore an oath to uphold and defend the Constitution, but has proven repeatedly that he is not so good at the whole oath thing, as his ex-wives, scorned business partners, bankruptcy courts, and stiffed vendors will all attest. How about the United States Agency for Global Media? That's the supervisory entity that controls the Voice of America, the Office of Cuba Broadcasting, state-funded Radio Free Europe, Radio Liberty, Radio Free Asia, Middle East Broadcasting Networks, and Open Technology Fund. Of all the mean-spirited and ill-conceived cuts, this one might be the most surprising. For a mere pittance, we provide people in closed autocratic societies with accurate and true reporting. Trumpers might hate it because it shows the U.S. to be fair and stable and thus inspires listeners to want to move here. Or they might hate it because Putin, Xi, Orban, and Erdogan want them to. Conflicts of interest. Our president is twice as rich today as he was a year ago, thanks to Truth Social, his social media platform, and cryptocurrency. Most of the upside, according to Forbes, comes from his embrace of an equity interest in meme coins, from which he and the First Lady receive 75% of the proceeds. Using the office for financial gain has been seen as unethical, illegal, and just plain unseemly since our inception. We're losing many of the things that made us what and who we are. For Progressive Voices, I'm John Sinton.
Go to the on-demand section of progressivevoices.com or the PV app and look for A Turning Point. PV brings you the best progressive audio and video in one free stream. Stephanie Miller, Tom Hartman, Randy Rhodes, David Packman, Brad Friedman, and more. Search Progressive Voices on the TuneIn app. Download the free Progressive Voices app or go to progressivevoices.com.